So under Biden, we just keep breaking record after record. Too bad they're all the kinds of records one would rather leave in place. Take, for example, the national debt, which is now topping $33 trillion for the first time in history. $1 trillion of that was added in just 3 months. And of course, a few weeks ago, we saw the U.S. credit rating downgraded by Fitch from AAA to AA+. That's only the second time such a downgrade had happened, with the first time taking place under Obama. Shocker, right? A legal expert writing under the name Technofog responded to news of the debt today by tweeting, quote, Thomas Jefferson once asked whether one generation of men has a right to bind another. Our political class answered in the affirmative. There will be no inheritance, only anguish. Black pill. A country has no future where greed replaces generational responsibilities. The mandate of trusteeship. End quote. That breaks the intergenerational social contract theory as understood by 18th century Irish statesman and philosopher Edmund Burke in his critique of Jean-Jacques Rousseau's understanding of how society is formed. Burke described a society as a contract being made between the living with the dead, from whom they carry the torch from, and from the living to the unborn, for whom they strive to better conditions for their progeny and hand off that torch. That's how you get 20th century Catholic writer G.K. Chesterton later summing up pithily, the education is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another. It's continuity. But the rejection of Judeo-Christian principles and values in polite society, a much older dog-eat-dog world, do for yourself at the expense of others mentality has taken over, both in D.C. and in the streets where crime is out of control. I would ask indignantly, where is the loyalty of the Bidens, of Pelosi, and McConnell types, who aren't going to be here for much longer, relatively speaking, but have not a care in the world about what happens to us when they're gone? What's the point in asking that question when they sold us out years ago by sending our jobs overseas and opening up our southern border? They have not an ounce of care about us. We are a means to an end for them, a farm base from which they can cull votes and tax money from. And if they think we get too uppity with our demands, they just replace us or find other ways to dilute our power. There is no loyalty. That's why they laugh at the very idea of such a noble principle, along with the virtues of temperance, austerity, prudence, wisdom, and true love and charity. We're now hearing that statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Christopher Columbus are likely to be torn down in New York City, which used to be the former seat of power in this nation, acting as a temporary national capital before D.C. was established. But it speaks perfectly to our times, as those in D.C. rob us and our posterity, that they continue to oversee the tearing down of monuments to men much greater than they. Men like Washington, who put down a military rebellion bent on making him king, a man who had to be coaxed out of retirement, and a man who voluntarily stepped down from power after serving 2 terms as president when he didn't have to. Contrast that with the corpse in the White House we have now, or the senators who have strokes or whatever right in front of us, but who still won't give up power. They are the epitome of having to pry the scepter of power from someone's cold, dead hands. Go be home with your families and enjoy that time. Your health is your wealth, and you can't bring any of your earthly treasures or powers with you into the next life. And in fact, if you try to bring them, they often drag your soul down to hell like a drowning man whose pockets are full of rocks. But you know what you can bring with you into the next life? The love and family and friendship connections you make here on earth. When you leave for your children and posterity a good future, not one robbed from them. As Christ says, the 2 greatest commandments from which all else flows from is to love God first and foremost with all your mind, body, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Joining us now to discuss is United States Congressman Andy Biggs, representing Arizona's 5th Congressional District. He's also a member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. Congressman, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Kara. What a beautiful monologue that was. Thank you.
I really do appreciate that. And, you know, we're hearing that a government shutdown could be in the works as House conservatives are applying a lot of pressure right now on House Speaker McCarthy to limit spending. But is a shutdown really such a bad thing as they tried to fearmonger us with?
No, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to scare everybody to death, and that's what the left always does. And here Speaker McCarthy's trying to do the same. What most people don't realize is the vast majority of federal government goes on without skipping a beat first. Number 2, where employees might be furloughed or have to keep working if they're essential, they get every bit of that money back. They get paid back pay. So government will continue to go on.